Hello and welcome to Runkle of the Bailey. My name is Ian Runkle. I'm a Canadian criminal defense and firearms lawyer. Somebody sent me a link to an article. Its headline is Investigators Appeal to Recreational Shooters After Dirt Biker's Death in Ladysmith. This is from CTV News. I'm going to link it in the description below. I'm not going to go through the full article, but check out their article. It's a good article. So it says investigators with Vancouver Island's Major Crimes Unit are looking for anyone who may have been shooting guns recreationally in the area where a dirt biker was found dead last month. And they continue on saying, on Thursday, the Vancouver Island Integrated Major Crime Unit issued a plea to anyone who may have been shooting near Timberland and Nenati roads to speak with investigators. Mounties said last week that criminality was not suspected in the man's death. But then listen to this quote. There isn't anything leading to criminality at this time. So at this time is doing a whole lot of work in this, right? That's a really loaded phrase. We can also have a look at the BC RCMP's press releases because they issued a couple of press releases about this incident here. And the first one here is from February 23rd. So this is shortly after the death. It says the Vancouver Island Integrated Major Crime Unit is investigating the suspicious sudden death of a man in a remote area of Ladysmith. On February 21st, 2022, just after 5 p.m., the Ladysmith RCMP responded to assist BC Ambulance Service in a forested area off Timberland Forest Service Road in Ladysmith. A 911 call had been received regarding a male who was fatally injured while riding a dirt bike with a small group of individuals. Witnesses report firearms may have been discharged in the area at the time of the incident. Unfortunately, the male was pronounced dead at the scene, said Corporal Alex Berube, Media Relations Officer. Investigators are conducting an examination of the area and interviewing potential witnesses in order to determine the leading cause of this tragic incident. While the investigation remains in its infancy, no arrests have been made. So that's the first one, and then there's a follow-up article or follow-up press release. Investigators seeking witnesses in Ladysmith's death of motorcyclist. The Vancouver Island Integrated Major Crimes Unit, in conjunction with the BC Coroner Service, continues to investigate the sudden death of a man in a remote area of Ladysmith. And they point to their previous media release. As the investigation progresses, investigators are still gathering evidence and seeking to speak with potential witnesses that may have crucial information to advance this investigation. Specifically, police are looking to speak with anyone who may have been shooting recreationally in the area along Timberlands and Nenati Road in Ladysmith in the afternoon of February 21st, 2022, Family Day. Should you have information, they want you to call them. So if you are one of those people that they want to talk to, don't listen to this video to get advice because I don't know your personal circumstances. This video is not a good source of legal advice. I'm just talking about general principles here, but I would say that you probably want to talk to a criminal defense lawyer before you do anything and get some individualized, personalized advice from them. And I'd say you probably want to do this, with a lawyer in your area because I'm nowhere near Vancouver Island. So that is sort of my disclaimer here is if that is you, call somebody because, I'm going to have some thoughts about what I might do, but I don't know your particular circumstances and you'll want to get specific advice. So with that in mind, one of the questions people asked was, Runkle, what would you do if you were one of those shooters? And, that was not somebody who's in the area, but just from a general perspective, let's talk about the risk reward here. The reward of, helping out here is pretty much that you might feel better about having helped, a family get some closure here, because I'm sure that the family is broken up. I'm sure that they're kind of desperate to know what happened. And I would really like to say that what I would do is to call the RCMP right away. Realistically, what I would do is shut my mouth and say nothing, because the risks on this are tremendous. The first thing that happens if you call up and you say, hey, I was one of those people shooting there is, suddenly I would be suspect number one. In fact, I would be the only suspect in what they've described as a suspicious death. And then later on, they just sort of amended that to sudden death, but clearly they initially thought it was suspicious. They say no criminality is suspected at this time. But they clearly are thinking that it's a possibility. They're clearly, I mean, they're probably kind of hoping that they can close this matter off with a criminal charge. Then they can mark it down as closed with charge, and that looks a lot better than their stats, for their stats. Then we ultimately don't know what happened here. You should expect that if you say, hey, I was out there shooting, that the next thing that would probably happen is they'll want a warrant for every gun you've got in order to have a look and to start running ballistics. Because, if they're looking for people who are shooting in that area, then what they're clearly looking for, I mean, we can read between the lines and infer that this person was probably shot, although the RCMP have been very cagey about not saying that. But, reading between the lines. When they say there's nothing to suspect criminality at this time, well, come on, guys. This is the Vancouver Island Integrated Major Crime Unit. They don't investigate lost cats. They don't investigate, I was hit by, I was hit by a truck and, it's purely an accident. They don't investigate, a barrel was rolling down the street and it rolled me, ran me over. They don't investigate you died of a heart attack on the toilet. This is, they investigate major crimes. So if they're involved, they clearly think that this is a major crime of some variety. And why would you want, there is no reason to want any part of that. And I hate that this is kind of how our system works. But, this is exactly what the right to silence is about. And this applies even if, and especially if, I'm innocent. If I was firing directly into a solid mountain and I know that nothing is, there is no possibility of a projectile escaping from sort of my particular firing plane, I still don't want to go and volunteer to be suspect number one. I don't want all of my guns seized for the, 6 months to a year that it would probably take them to actually run ballistic analysis. I don't want to bet that their ballistic analysis is correct, because I can probably do an entire video on what ballistic analysis, involves. But really it comes down to a guy eyeballing two things to see if they're the same. Well, when you have a guy eyeballing things, that is a potential source for error. So you might be factually innocent, but maybe the ballistics guy screws up and now you're facing a trial, and that trial is going to be super expensive. I might be able to fund such a trial selling my entire house. I certainly don't want any part of that. Now, for the RCMP's benefit, I haven't been in BC in several years, so this doesn't apply to me. But, if it did, I'd be looking to rely on the duct tape method and just keeping my mouth shut. It's unfortunate that that's how our system works, but this is very much, the case. The other thing is that you might be 100% convinced that you are factually innocent, but it might be a situation where you could be wrong about that. You could be in error, and what you can end up with is a legally interesting question. Let's say you are firing into a hill, you've got a solid berm, but that solid berm includes a rock, and you didn't know the rock was there. You had no reason to believe that there was a dangerous rock there, but your bullet hits this rock and deflects off at an oblique angle and ends up, hitting this motorcyclist. It would be a tragic accident, something that you couldn't predict, and something that, ultimately is just one of those things, right? The world is not perfectly safe, and that is, the nature of being alive is that you could stop being alive at any minute. I mean, the ceiling could crash down on me right now. But the question might come up is, the court may have to analyze the question of whether or not you were being careless. And if you were being careless, then, and that might be the RCMP's theory, even though you might have been careful, but you still have to prove in court that you weren't. If they can make out that you were shooting carelessly, or if that's their theory, then you could potentially be looking at charges of manslaughter, which nobody wants to be facing. So, yeah, I mean, as much as I sympathize with the parents here, I think this is tragic. This is bait.
That's bait.
There is no way I'd be calling them if that were me. But again, if that is you, you should contact a lawyer and get specific advice, because don't ever take anything you see on YouTube as legal advice. At best, it's legal information, and it can go stale the instant it's posted online. Actually, even before it's posted online. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Joining a police investigation is not always a good idea. And I'll just tell another little anecdote here before I close off. I have had a talk with my wife about what to do if she comes home and she finds me dead. Somebody has come in and has murdered me. What should she do? And basically, it's your first call should be to a list of these lawyers. Of course, I couldn't be on that list because I'd be the guy, lying in a pool of blood. But I'd want her to contact a lawyer to get help to deal with that, and possibly to not say anything, because I like my wife and I want to save her from legal hassle more than I want to catch whoever killed me. That's sort of my priorities on that hierarchy. If she killed me, well, then, I mean, she can use that same list. I did give her another list for here are the lawyers I would like you to call if you personally murdered me. I'm not going to share which names are on that list because, yeah, but regardless. So, yeah, it's anytime you're talking to the police and providing evidence, it's legally perilous. There is a legal hazard to it that you should be aware of. And absolutely, if you're considering that, call a lawyer. Anyway, thank you for watching. Please like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to see more content. I also, in addition to the article and the news releases below, I've got a link to my Patreon if you want to support this channel, or you can sign up on Locals and various other ways to support. But I want to thank my Patreon supporters at the $50 level: Jonathan Wheeler, Canada's National Firearms Association, Kyle Marden, the CCFR, and the Canadian Shooting Sports Association. At the $30 level, Sights and Arms Limited and Marc Livier Damour. And at the $20 level, Peter Hilger, Mark Whittington, Jane Babin Luxor, Haywire, Dale Nesbitt, Cameron Johnson, Bruno R., Andrew Elsich, and Aaron Delso. Thank you as well to all of the $10 supporters who will be in the crawl immediately following. Thank you for watching, and I hope this has armed you with knowledge.